Hi, I'm Johnny from Wex Photo Video, and today we're going to talk about how to shoot winter landscapes. Today we're going to be talking about composition, light, equipment and camera settings, so you'll have a general introduction in all the different decisions you can make if you want to go out and make your own great wintry shots. We've come in on the train from Vienna. We're by the Schneeberg mountain at the moment, which is fantastic. It's looking really beautiful, but at the moment the light is falling, so we're going to have a look at some compositions, and then we're going to pop back tomorrow to see if the light is any better and see if we can recce out some shots today so that we can shoot them in the best light tomorrow. To set up this shot today, we came over the brow of this hill. We were walking closer and closer to the mountain to try to find somewhere that had an interesting foreground, an interesting kind of mixture of elements that wasn't just, a shot of the face of the mountain itself. What happens as you walk closer and closer to, a massive object is obviously you have to then think you're going to have to use a wider and wider lens. When we came over the brow of this hill, there was this nice contrast between the snowy fields in the foreground. The birch trees are making quite a nice leading line towards the face of the mountain, and above the mountain itself you've got this kind of leaden sky. I think it's got its own little microclimate up there. I wanted all those elements in. I thought that what I wanted was to get as high as possible so that I could extend that foreground and get all of those elements in, the fields, the birches and the mountain, all in frame. So initially I went to kind of behind where I'm being filmed from and found a patch of high ground, but immediately there was this electric fence. So then I wandered up, and I thought maybe instead of extending the foreground, I'll try and reduce the foreground completely and shoot underneath the fence. So I had a look underneath there, but it wasn't great, and I like the texture that you have on the snow here, the kind of dappled snow melt into the grass. So then I decided that really close up to the fence, up on a tripod, shooting over the top of it, it eliminates that fence in the foreground. It keeps the fence down the side, so you get a nice leading line. And besides from the lighting, which is a little dull, I think I got a really good shot. So we chose this location, this town and mountain in Austria, to demonstrate winter landscapes. We wanted somewhere that looked very alpine, and this does. So we've got beautiful buildings, you've got kind of pastoral buildings, you've got wooden clad barns, and you've got a massive mountain as your backdrop. We arrived in Austria this morning, which meant that we arrived into this town with some falling light. So we explored around the town and we really recce'd a lot of shots. We now know some really great places to come back to tomorrow, hopefully when there's better light or when there's just more time to set up each shot without worrying about the light falling with each moment. So if you're planning on heading out to take some winter shots, if there's a patch that you know well, go to that patch that you know well, because it'll be your beat, you'll know how it all works. If you're looking at trying somewhere new, do a bit of research online first, have a look at the lay of the land around the location, have a look at what other photographers have done. You can do location search on Instagram. When you're looking at those photos, don't just look at where the subject of the photo is. So obviously the mountain, we know where that is and we could find that on a map. Have a look at the views that people are taking of that mountain and where they might be taking those pictures from. Have a look at a map and look at where the sun's going to be rising, where the sun's going to be traveling around and setting. So the kit that we're using today, I kind of designed for maximum versatility. At the heart of it is the camera, the Canon EOS R5. I love shooting with the R5. It's got a fantastic sensor. 45 megapixels is the highest resolution within the Canon range. If you wanted to, you could crop in. You'd see very little reduction in quality if you were cropping in a little bit. So if you needed to adjust your composition in that way, then you've got that option with such a high resolution sensor that you wouldn't have, say, with a 24 megapixel sensor. The other reason that Canon are a fantastic choice is that they have an incredible lens range, and that brings me on to the optics that I've brought with me. For starters, a wide-angle lens. It's a landscape photography staple. The 15 to 35mm f2.8L series lens it's fantastic. It's incredibly sharp. With wide-angle landscape photography, what you really want is a strong foreground so that you've got that detail all the way up to your backdrop. Next up, I've got the RF 24 to 70 f2.8L series lens. This is a standard angle zoom. So if you can see a composition that's not a small detail in the distance and you want to make that shot, then 24 to 70 works really well for that. It's incredibly sharp, it's a really good workhorse, and it's a good everyday carry lens if you're traveling around. So if you don't need anything extreme like the wide angle or a telephoto, then the 24 to 70 is a great choice. Last but by no means least is the RF 70 to 200 f2.8L. This is a marvel of Canon's lens engineering. It's so much smaller than previous 70 to 200s. So the great benefit of the 70 to 200 is that it gives you compression in your shot. What that is it effectively brings the background elements of your frame closer, and it means that you can put foreground and background elements together in a way that you wouldn't be able to with a wide angle shot. Accessories that I have with me as well. The key one is a tripod. It's a Manfrotto tripod that I've got with me, and it's got a three-way head. I really like the three-way head because it lets me adjust each movement individually. Lastly, this is an optional accessory, but I like to have it with me. I have a Lee Filters ND graduated filter. What is that and what does that mean? The Lee filter system allows you to slot square filters over the front of your lens. They make really, really good quality solid color filters. They make really good quality ND filters. But what I have is a grad, which is a longer filter, which is a darker ND at the top and fading to transparent underneath. It gives you a 2 stops difference over quite a smooth gradient, which means that if you have a really blown out highlight sky, you can darken that down by dropping that darker gradient of ND over the top of your frame. You can make the balanced composition that you want using, analog photography practices, which I quite enjoy. So as you can tell, the light's really dropped now, so we're going to head home, we're going to rest up, we're going to get up really early in the morning and try and get some good morning light, which is a great tip for any landscape photography trip, is trying to get the morning light, and then you've got the whole day ahead of you to shoot, which will be great fun. So it's day 2, the light's better. It's not a clear, sparkling, sunny day, but there's a lot more light coming through the clouds and we've got a lot more daylight to shoot in. We saw this shot before when we were recceing last night, and there's a little bit more light hitting the side of the mountain. The sun's risen, it's over there at the moment, which means it's side lighting the mountain. When it does punch through the clouds, there's a little bit more detail there. So let's get this set up. At the moment, the back of the camera, so the plane of the sensor, is in line with the plane of the barn, which means that it looks really square on, lovely. But at the moment, the bottom half of my frame is the grassy bank and the stream. And what I'd like is a bit more of that kind of blue sky, cloudy sky combination that's rushing over, so that I can have a composition that is divided into the traditional rule of thirds. The ND filter that I mentioned in my kit has been essentially, you could, because of the live view on the Canon R5, you could see its effect as you slid it down. It just brought detail back into the sky and the snowy top of the mountain that just wasn't there before. And also because the Lee filter system isn't fixed to the lens, you can rotate it around. So I rotated it around to the right slightly so that brighter corner of my image was darkened and that gradient comes in diagonally across the image. So let me talk you through the settings that I've been using. To start with, I set the camera at 100 ISO. That's the base ISO for the Canon R5. It's the lowest ISO, so it'll give me the lowest noise and the most detail. Then I set the aperture to f11. F11 is often, f8 or f11 is often the sharpest aperture for a lens. Each lens is different, so the more you learn about the kit that you own, the better you can choose the sharpest aperture. That's to give the greatest depth of field possible. If you go towards f16, f22, you can get an extended depth of field, but you can sometimes soften the details slightly due to a process called diffraction. Test it out with your kit, see how big an impact it has on the pictures that you make. So you set your ISO, you have a big think about what aperture you're using, then you use your shutter speed to get the correct exposure. So because I'm shooting at a low ISO and a smaller aperture, that usually means a longer shutter speed is needed so that I'm using the camera on a tripod, and that gives that stability for those longer exposures. Those are the settings I've been using. I use that to make this shot just now, just to bring the sky and the snow-topped mountain into balance with the house and the road behind me. I also used the rule of thirds, the kind of compositional technique, to make sure that the road and the grass foreground was in the bottom third, the mountain was in the top 2/3, and the road was centered so that leads you or I towards the house, and then with the mountain as the massive backdrop. For this shot, I used a 70-200 to give a little bit more compression to kind of flatten the road, the house and the mountain, which I wouldn't have got with a wide angle lens. But I'll talk more about lenses in the next shot. So for my last shot, I've used a wide angle lens angled down to accentuate the foreground. We found this really lovely patch of snow, which George has kindly walked all over to get this shot of me, but we've got the shot already. It's this really nice kind of sweep of snow that has tracks running off into the distance over to a foothill of this mountain here. That means that you've got a leading line into a smaller detail that then draws your eye into the larger kind of mountain massive itself. It's a compositional technique that I'd recommend with wide angle lenses. They really make objects in the foreground shine. For this whole how-to video that we've been doing, this mountain has been our backdrop, it's been our main subject, but we've been putting different objects in front of it to give it a little bit more context, give it a little bit more context of the location that we're in Austria, the fact that it's snowy in the foreground, it's snowy in the farmland around us on this kind of, on this valley. All of those different objects give you more to think about and tell more of a story of the subject of the mountain than just a square-on picture of the faces of the mountain. To set up this shot, I used my ND filter flipped upside down this time, so the gradient is actually bringing back this really bright snow from being a totally clipped out white. So we've used 3 different lenses today, which has given us a huge range of shooting options, and that gives the opportunity to do kind of wide open establishing shots, pictures of the full mountain, and also details and to highlight different elements. It's, I think, key to getting a diverse portfolio of images and to really tell a story of a space. I would say, much like filmmaking, if you were going to show a set of images and you wanted to tell a story of the mountain and the village that's in direct proximity to it, you absolutely want to start with a seemingly wide vista that shows the full mountain. I wouldn't say you'd start with this shot that shows this leading line. I would say that this would tell more of a story about the practice and the lives of the farming and agricultural community that's here. And the telephoto lens has allowed us to put buildings that are a long way back in that town there into the shot with the mountain, so everything ultimately ties back to being in the proximity of the start of the Alps, which is really exciting. One thing I would note is that I've been shooting with entirely f2.8 lenses, zoom lenses. They are quite heavy, and I haven't shot a single shot at f2.8. if you were dedicating your practice to landscape photography, I would recommend looking at any camera manufacturer's range of f4 lenses. So that wraps up our how-to on how to shoot winter landscapes. I'm really happy with the pictures that I've got of Schneeberg. It's great that we came back a second day to get a little bit better light. I'm going to give you my top 3 tips. My top tip isn't going to be wait for the best light, because sometimes you've got it, sometimes you don't. But it leads me into tip number 1, which is do your research. Not only should you be looking up your location ahead of time and looking for good angles, and there are also apps in terms of research that will help you get the best chance of good light. So the Photographer's Ephemeris is an app on your phone that you can look at where the sun is going to rise and where it's going to set, so that you can work out where to put yourself at the start of the day for good sunrises, where you could possibly head to for sundown. Which brings me on to tip 2. If you're close to home, you maybe don't need to worry about this so much, but if you are far away from home, then prepare yourself as well as your kit. You're going to pack your tripod and all of your lenses, but make sure that you are also ready for a full day out in snowy and cold conditions. So I have hiking boots, which are keeping my feet nice and toasty. I've also got a lot of layers on, and I've got thermals on my legs so that I'm warm all the time. My third tip is shoot at a smaller aperture, and don't forget your tripod. So many other genres of photography focus on having a fast lens, shooting wide open. That's not really what landscape photography is about. If you found any of these techniques useful, or if you use them in your photography already and you're posting your pictures online, don't forget to use the hashtag WexHowTo. We love to see what images you create. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.